Happy Wednesday, readers. Today for Reading Workshop, you're going to need your digital copy of The Tiger Rising, pencil, glue stick highlighters, reading notebook, green resources folder from inside of your anchor binder, and the Tiger Rising book packet. First, you're going to take out of your green resources folder on the left side the teach pages that you need. Remember, if yours are slightly out of order, just make sure you pay attention to the ones that you need to pull out. The first one you're going to get today is the one that says theme and has a black bold strip at the top that has a heart and books. And then the second and last page that we're going to need today is the page that says Common Theme Statements in Literature. And then you will see that there are 8 boxes that has information recorded in them. Once you're done, make sure the remaining pages are still paper clipped on the left corner, and then you can close your resource folder and keep it in your anchor binder and make sure that that gets placed back in your basket. Then go ahead back to your notebook. We're going to open up to our last lesson that we had completed, which we have discussed symbolism and how an author uses objects to help the reader have a better understanding of information that is not explicitly told but is representing a deeper meaning. So we first started talking about what symbolism was, some typical objects that we might find in some of our stories and possible meanings. And then we completed the examples of symbolism that Kate DiCamillo included in the story of The Tiger Rising. We're going to go ahead and turn to the next page, which we're going to record as page 44. So in the top right corner, write 44. Then we're going to turn back in the notebook. And we are, Mrs. Ling at least is on the right side of my table of contents. So I'm going to record 44. We are going to be starting the next several days talking about the lesson of what is a theme, and then we'll be moving into how to craft a theme statement. So theme today, and then today's date is 10-6-20. Remember, at any point of the video, push pause to get yourself caught up, and then push play when you're ready to resume. The 2 pages that we're going to be inserting today, we're going to start with the page that has the heart at the top. Use your glue stick. Go ahead and glue around the edges of them, crisscross. And then remember to glue from the bottom of the page, smooth up. Then turn the page so we can get the last of our teach pages glued in. Same idea with your glue stick. And crisscross. Once you're done, go ahead and turn back to our previous page. Oops, sorry, one too many pages. There we go. So we're going to be focusing on, for the next couple days, our lesson on learning about what a theme is, how to identify it, and then how to create what we call a theme statement. So we're going to start by highlighting the word theme. This is a very important lesson for us to have an understanding of how a theme is identified within a story. So when we think of the word theme, it says, I can give a theme statement and identify supporting details from the text to support the theme. The next statement is our understanding of what theme is. So this is something you would have covered in the past in previous grade levels, but we want to make sure that we have a reminder. So the theme is the lesson or message the author is trying to teach us. And oftentimes we see that we might write theme, the first 3 letters of theme, and then we have the last 2 lowercase because it's the, and then we fill in the rest, message. So it's the message that the author is trying to teach us. So when we think of the word theme, it's the beginning of reminding us that it's the message. So when we're asked to identify themes, we're going to ask ourselves a few questions. So this is when you're going to use your 3rd color. The first question you ask yourself is, what are the characters learning about life? So we're going to highlight characters learning about life. So it's a deeper connection to what they're learning. The second question we ask ourselves is, how can this book make me as a reader a better person? So we're going to highlight make me a better person. So it's identifying a character, what they're learning, and then how is that lesson or what the character's learning going to help myself as a reader also become a better person? And then what life lesson is being taught. So it's just clearly identifying what that life lesson might be. So as we said, we're going to be talking about in the next couple days also how to create a theme statement. But we're going to just kind of briefly go over the 3 ideas today, and then we'll go into more details in the next few days. So the first about a theme statement, it tells a lesson about life being learned. An example could be good conquers evil. The second, it has evidence from the text. So evidence is what's going to be key for a theme statement from the text to support the theme. So it's not just identifying the life lesson or the message the author's trying to teach us, but it's also being backed up by the evidence within the story. And then it's going to be considered only a theme statement if it's a complete sentence. So we're going to not use this stop and jot right now. We're going to come back to that as we use this in the next few days. If you go ahead and turn the page, we're going to look at some common theme statements. So once again, we're going to use our highlighter. And these are common because we can typically find the theme of a book in one of these categories. So we have 8 broad categories that we're going to be focusing on. So we might have a theme within a book that is focused on differences, but when we think of the theme of differences, we need to then narrow it down to a thematic statement. So giving us a little bit more detail. So differences could be, you can't judge a book by its cover. A theme for a story could be beware strangers. People from other cultures are not that different. Look before you leap. Share our similarities and celebrate our differences. So remember, when we think about theme, that is a message or a life lesson the author is teaching us. Another theme that a book could be focused on is change. Changes could include things are not usually as bad as you think they are. People are afraid of change, but things always change, and it is impossible to be sure of what will come in the future. Another topic that themes sometimes are focused on are good versus evil. So good triumphs over evil. Evil is punished and good is rewarded. Power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Bullies can be overcome. Good manners have positive results. Greed leads to disaster. Jealousy leads to loneliness, and good and evil coexist. So those are some thematic statements that focus on the overall theme of good versus evil within a story. So remember, lesson taught or the message the author wants us to know. The next type of theme a story could be focused on is love and relationships. So treat others as you want to be treated. Act kind without expecting something in return. Love is blind. Love rules all. Hate selfishness, cruelty, and death. Love one another. Friends can help you get through the tough parts of life. Animals and nature have rights and deserve protection. And friends are the most valuable possessions. Some more themes that we have are growing up. And then you can read the examples that could be in this category. Another one could be focused on rules. Next is goals and dreams. And then the last one we have on our chart is bravery and fear. These are not the only themes that a story can be focused on. These are just the most common and some of the more specific thematic statements that fall into that category. This is important for you to reference because as we start thinking about some of the books that we've read throughout the year, we want to be able to identify what our theme or what the author is trying to teach us, the lesson within those stories that we've read. So today we're going to be focusing on our theme of the Tiger Rising. So if you would take your notebook and just kind of push it off to the side because we're going to go into our book packet now. If you would open up your book packet, we've been numbering the pages of your book packet in the top corners. Yesterday, you did not have any book packet pages, but the previous day on Monday, you were to finish up the story timeline and the plot mountain. If you would go ahead and open up to the next page, which is called What is Conflict? You're going to number that as page 27. Turning the page, you're going to then number this 28 for story setting. And the last page we're going to talk about is page 29, What is a Theme? This is the last one that's focusing on the lesson for today. So before we get to the lesson that's going to support what we're learning in our notebook, the 2 pages that came before it, What is Conflict and Story Setting, are ideas that we have covered in the past. The conflict is going to be focusing back on some central ideas. So the top of the page says conflict refers to the problems and challenges that make stories interesting and to move the plots along. So moving the story along from the beginning to the end. Conflict is an important part of any story. Below are some of the different conflict types you may encounter as you read. So we have, once again, some categories given to us, but instead of theme, we're thinking of conflict. So when it says verses, it's going to give you an idea of what the conflict is between. So man versus man versus nature, man versus society, and man versus self. So thinking of those 4 ideas, read through some of the more details that are given within those boxes. It says for you to look back at the examples of conflict in the story of the Tiger Rising and add them to the chart below. So that is why you have your digital copy of our book attached to this lesson. You are going to come up with 6 examples throughout the book of conflict. So thinking back, where is there an example in the book about man versus man or man versus society? And then you're going to label those examples with one of those 4 titles. So you have 6 examples that you are required to find and then labeling them with the correct type of conflict. When you're done with that page, you're going to turn to page 28. This goes back to the beginning lesson of this unit when we were focusing on the story setting. So this is one of our story elements. This setting is the time and place in which a story happens. You are asked to describe the setting of the Tiger Rising, when and where it takes place. So you can refer back to your digital copy of the book to help you with complete sentences. You are then asked to draw a picture of a setting describing the story. So this isn't everything in the story. This is taking one of the settings that's being described and then creating a detailed illustration. And then the last part is just explain what you have drawn. So using that text evidence to support what you have included in your illustration. Once you're done with those 2 pages, you're going to finish up by focusing on our lesson strategy for today, which is identifying the theme. So once again, it reminds us that the theme is a central topic or idea of a story. A story can have one or more themes. Some examples of themes are acceptance, cooperation, bravery, and determination. What do you think one theme of the Tiger Rising is? So you're going to write one idea of what the theme is for the story of the Tiger Rising. If you need to go back to your notebook, remember I've given you at least 8 themes. That's what I've highlighted in pink. But you have to make sure that the theme that you've chosen relates to our story. Once you determine the theme that you want to focus on, you then are asked to find 3 examples from the book that supports this as one of the theme. So if you picked, let's say the theme of good versus evil, well then within the story you have to find 3 different examples of where this is shown, that good versus evil. So who is the good and what is the evil, and how is that showing that conflict that is happening. So using your story, you have 3 pages to complete. What is a theme, story setting, and what is conflict? So those 3 pages need to be submitted in a picture, and then you're also going to submit in a picture the common theme statements highlighted appropriately, and then the beginning of our lesson, the theme page that has the heart. So today there are 5 pictures you must submit for your credit.